Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Mark Reed here. Welcome back to another toy review by yours truly. And today, different camera angle, completely different background today, because today we're doing the Ultimate Beyblade Collection review. Now, as you guys can see, this is my entire Beyblade collection. Yes, this is going to be a very, very long video. So you better buckle yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because oh boy, you're gonna be in for quite the ride. So if you guys are ready and set, let us begin with first. Since there's a lot of new viewers, let us quickly introduce this by stating what exactly is Beyblade. Let's just bring in that question. Just because I've already answered the question in the past, but because for the new viewers, I'm just gonna reiterate it. Is Beyblade basically a series of tops that have been around since the early 2000s, back when they were made of plastic instead of nowadays, where we have polycarbonate, we have metal, we have rubber, we have all kinds of different materials here that comprise these tops. And each one of these tops here are based on different things, such as mythical creatures, mythical beasts, all kinds of different things. So you guys will see all of that as well. I'll go over all the Beyblades here. I'll even go through the parts, and I'll even go into their release dates because why the heck not? You know, let's just go through the entire history here, starting with the first Beyblade that was ever released, that being Valkyrie. Pretty straightforward, right? So this is Valkyrie. This is based on the same Valkyrie you guys have seen before, like Winning Valkyrie, God Valkyrie, all that stuff that I reviewed. Same guy, just this is his very first version, released back in 2015 for the original burst system. So as you can see, this is Valkyrie, the pretty much standard layer here. Now, actually, mine is actually modded because the slopes on mine got weak, so basically it's all one piece now because I've super glued it together so that it can actually function well in battle. Of course, this is completely unfair to the other Beyblades, but because it's just that bad, I've had to do that to this one. But I can still show you the parts, though. So you do have the Valkyrie layer, then you have the wing disc here. Wing basically functions as you'd think. It has these little slopes here, as you guys can see. It has these little slopey things on there. And basically it's supposed to help channel the wind in the Beyblade to help it be more aerodynamic and to spin faster. Which in practice doesn't do that at all. But still a nice gimmick nonetheless. Then we have the Excel Driver, which the Excel Driver is again one of the first drivers released for Burst. They're also known as performance tips, but for the rest of the video I'm going to be calling them by the Japanese names, which is drivers. So Excel is basically a flat tip that basically functions to give aggression to Valkyrie, giving it some attack power. And this particular Valkyrie is pretty OP. Even when the slopes were actually, workable and weren't so crap, it was still one of the most top-tier Beyblades of its time, which this later transitioned into its evolution in the dual-layer system, as we call it, this guy. This is Victory Valkyrie. In particular, this is the Avatar Attack Battle Set version. Basically, it's just a recolor, essentially. And the Victory Valkyrie is awesome. I love this Beyblade so much. Now, I actually do have other color variants, which I will show off later in the review, which, of course, I'm going to keep those segments short because, obviously, it's just the same thing, just a different color. Anyway, so this is Victory Valkyrie here, as you guys can see. The differences between the two Valkyries. So now, as you can see, unlike smaller Burst Valkyrie, this one had little spikes that it used to attack. Now it actually has proper wing-like swords that it uses to slash at the opponent rather than trying to stab it with little tiny nubs. So that's basically the difference there. And obviously the pieces are different, and this one I did not mod in any way because it's actually, workable here. So here you have the layer, here we have the back of it with the QR code for the game, like for Hasbro. And then we have the disc here, which is Boost. Now, Boost basically it's an okay disc. It has these little spikes on it that help to give it this buzzsaw-like appearance. And again, it's supposed to help with channeling air in the Beyblade to make it spin faster. But obviously in practice, it doesn't do that at all. But it still looks like a nice disc nonetheless. So you have the boost disc there, and then we have the driver, which is no longer Excel, it is now the new driver called Variable. Now, Variable has a very unique gimmick that to this day I still haven't gotten it to work all the way just because I don't use Victory Valkyrie that often. But anyway, the gimmick with this one is it has these little rubber spikes, as you guys can see. I don't know if you guys can see I don't know if the camera's going to capture it. There we go. It has these little spikes on it, as you can see, which are kind of dirty. But anyway, you have these little spikes there, and basically what happens is in battle, as you battle with this, these rubber spikes will wear down, basically making Valkyrie more and more aggressive the more you battle with it, until you wear them down completely. And then that's when Valkyrie gets super overpowered and basically becomes one of the more powerful attack types released during its time. And obviously nowadays it's heavily outclassed by its evolutions, but still for its time was the strongest Valkyrie that there was at the time. So then we have the later evolution in 2017 in the God Layer system, which is in the form of God Valkyrie. This is God Valkyrie. Now again, bringing in Victory Valkyrie for comparison, there are some significant changes here. So first with Victory Valkyrie, as you guys can see, the Valkyrie, which I should probably have stated this earlier, Valkyrie is based on the Valkyrie, which basically were Odin's handmaidens in mythology. And they were basically depicted as female knights that rode on the back of horses with wings. Now on Valkyrie here, on the actual beast for Valkyrie in the cartoon, it depicts a winged knight, but the winged knight has this kind of alien look to it, and the horse doesn't have wings. But Valkyrie does have wings on the helmet, as you guys can see. Valkyrie does have wings on the helmet. So, which again is translated really well here on God Valkyrie. As you guys can see, instead of the knight facing to the side profile, the face is now looking directly at you, with the feathered plumage coming up the sides of the helmet. And also, we got the wings again, just like Valkyrie should have. And unlike Victory Valkyrie, here, God Valkyrie has this spring-loaded double attack gimmick, which basically functions as so. So when the Beyblade gets hit, right, these will cause a spring up there to cushion back, basically making the wings come back, revealing these smaller spikes that will attack, and then afterwards, during the attack, when it gets the chance, the wings will spring back, causing a double strike, which actually in practice does a lot better than you'd think. It actually does quite good, and also helps with cushioning attacks as well. Now that's not the only gimmick this has. So there we have the God Valkyrie there with the layer, pretty nice, and we also have the disc here, which is brand new to the system. Is now we have core discs and frames for the God Layer system, as that's the whole entire gimmick. Is not only does every layer have a gimmick, but also the drivers have gimmicks, and the discs have a gimmick as well. Being not only we have a core disc like 6 here, which obviously has a number 6 on it, and has 6 little points on it that don't really do anything. But then we have the Vortex Frame. The Vortex Frame actually works quite well here, as it attaches to the disc like so. Now, the disc actually, in the core frame, can actually be optimized for both left and right spin Beyblades. Right spin is pretty simple. Or spin is pretty simple. You just take the frame and you just click it like that, as you guys can see. I don't know if you guys can see that, but basically you click it this way. Now for left spin, you click it the opposite way, so on and so forth. So, left, right, pretty simple. So that's the whole gimmick behind the disc here. And then we have the driver. Now the driver has the coolest gimmick, is Reboot. Now unlike Variable, which as you can see is significantly different in terms of design, the whole gimmick behind this is that it has these little plastic weights, as you guys can see here and here. Now when you first launch it, the Reboot driver will have this little nub that you guys can see that's moving there. The nub will come out, basically making its standard mode. Now the tip is pretty much the same as Excel, so it's only kind of aggressive, not really powerful. However, when it slows down, these weights will retract, causing the star tip on the base to be revealed. And the star tip is really good because this makes it super fast and basically gives it a last minute boost of power, which actually again works really well in conjunction with the spring-loaded attack gimmick and all of that. Also welcome Abby to the video. So there is God Valkyrie for you. Very, very beautiful. And of course, I do have recolored versions that I will show you, as well as it has another form, but I will get into that later. So, moving on, next from God Valkyrie in 2017, 2018 gave us the Chosey layer system, which the whole gimmick behind this was driver gimmicks, and on top of that, new discs, but the most important gimmick being metal, which you guys are going to see right now. This is Winning Valkyrie, as you guys can see. That came out in 2018 for the Chosey layer system. Now, obviously, this one is heavily worn due to a lot of battles, and the stickers have, they've seen better days. But anyway, so there it is. Very nice. Hi, Mom.
Yes, I'll leave it.
Hang on, guys, 1 second.
Let's see when I get back.
Alright guys, sorry that was my mom. Anyway, back to the video. So Josie Valkyrie here, as we can see, is significantly different from what is it, God Valkyrie. So here it is. God Valkyrie here, and here is Winning Valkyrie from 2018. As you guys can see, sorry, had a little bit of saliva in my throat, I had to clear it. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So basically the spring-loaded God gimmick is ripped off entirely. And now is replaced with these giant contact points and big chunks of metal on the top. And now also the helmet, I forgot to mention, the helmet is significantly different. Now with a giant V and basically replacing the God chip on the original God layer design. And now it's just a big V with this little gem on the inside. And on top of that, the helmet is now smaller and it has these tinier little eyes on it. Also, Mr. Dodo, welcome to the stream. So, and the whole gimmick behind this one, again, is the metal, which, as you guys can see, adds some significant weight to this, as this is quite a heavy layer, not even gonna lie. Hey, Racer, welcome to the stream. So you guys can see, and this is the special color version as well I got with the Chosey starter set that they released for Karatomi that I got. I'm still looking to try to get the original anime color version, but for now, this is the only version I have. So, and also on the back of this, there was another gimmick for this. Now, the reason why you may be wondering, you may have noticed, there's this little tiny star hole on the top, which many of you may be wondering, what is that for? Well, glad you asked. It was for what was called the Chosey, what was it called? It was like some kind of chip. Yeah, I forget what it was called. I think it was called like oh god, I have to remember what the chip was called. But basically there was a chip that went on the bottom of this. I believe it was called like some kind of, god, what was the name? Oh god, I have to really remember what it was called. Hang on. Real quick, I'm gonna get my computer real fast because I need to Google what it's called because I forget the name. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna Google the name. Alright guys, please do excuse my dogs in the background. But anyway, what it was called is it was called a level chip. That's what it's called. So basically it was a little ring that would basically encapsulate the inside here. And there was a little crystal that would fit on the bottom of it. And basically this would help with balancing the Beyblades out. As Chosey Beyblades were heavily notorious for being super unbalanced and basically being wibbly, even with the metal. So there you have that. Now, unlike 6 Vortex of the original God model, excuse me, we have the nicely painted version of the 12 disc. A 12 disc, again, can be used in conjunction with the frames, but with this particular one, it doesn't come with that. It just comes with a standard core disc, which does have these little metal spikes on it. And this disc was actually really notorious for actually breaking layers, as this would chop up layers, this would break plastic. It would even tear holes in stadiums. It was that bad. But obviously they fixed it because of this error. So this is a later rendition of the disc, as the original again was notorious for having a lot of damage issues. So they have the 12 disc. And then lastly, instead of the reboot driver, now we have the Volcanic Driver, which is in this nice translucent blue plastic. As you guys can see, it does look like the mouth of a volcano, as it starts in the bottom and then it comes all the way up to the top. And this part kind of acts like a bit of lava pluming out from the top, with this nice little star, it's hard to see, but there's like a little star insignia on the bottom of the tip, which is pretty cool. And basically the whole gimmick of it was that it was basically a free spinning part that would allow it to spin freely, and it basically would make it spin very, very fast, making it one of the most dangerous attack types to go against in battle because of that speed. And because of that metal, this thing hits like a truck. This thing was an absolute beast in battle compared to God Valkyrie's sort of light polycarbonate. So there you have it, guys. That is winning Valkyrie. Now, later on in the Chosey system, excuse me, we have the Chosey Awakening Layer system that came out, which basically took 3 Beyblades and made them super broken. And one of those Beyblades happened to be a Valkyrie, of course, because you can't have a Beyblade system without a Valkyrie upgrade, right? And this was the first season to introduce Beyblades getting multiple upgrades in the same series. So, which in this case, we got Josie Valkyrie. Now, Josie Valkyrie, as you can see, definitely goes back to the God Valkyrie design, as we can see here. As you guys can see, it definitely looks a lot more like God Valkyrie than it does Chosey, which as you can see, bottom here is Chosey, and then over we're winning, and then we have Chosey Valkyrie at the top. So here's basically Chosey Valkyrie, as you guys can see, is much, much bigger. Little bits of metal here and there on the wings, and a little bit on this insignia here, which references the Strike God chip, which was a chip that was exclusive to God Valkyrie in the God Layer system, that basically did some pretty cool stuff, which I'm going to get into the Strike God chip later. But anyway, so here we have the layer itself, Chosey Valkyrie. And this is probably my favorite Valkyrie of all time, because it just looks so nice. Even though I've only owned this Beyblade for a little while now, it's still one of my favorites. And on top of that, it also has the Awakening Layer system, which I should probably talk about now. So the whole Awakening Layer system basically involves these little red wings here. As you guys can see, there's 1, 2, and 3 of them encompassing the layer. And basically what happens is that when you launch this Beyblade hard enough, these little red pieces will come out, which I will demonstrate that on its Hasbro counterpart later. Because on this one, they are very, very tight, and I'm probably going to end up breaking a nail trying to actually do it. But anyway, basically what happens is that with this wing in particular, their little red insert will snap in place, basically making this Beyblade unburstable. You heard that right, a Beyblade that doesn't burst. Kind of insane. The only way you can actually get it to burst is by knocking in the stoppers, and the stoppers are very, very tight. And so trying to knock them in is kind of a pain, but if you can manage to do that, basically it makes Valkyrie not terribly weak, but it definitely does a significant number on its burst resistance. So very, very cool there. So next we got a brand new disc. Instead of having the 12 disc, we got the Zenith Disc, which you guys can see looks pretty cool. As you guys can see, we have the Chosey logo on the disc, which actually is a very, very cool little detail. I was not expecting them to do that, but that's very nice. And we actually got a little insignia of the, you guys can see that. There you go, the Chosey logo. Perfect. And then we have these little white parts here, which on the Hasbro version is plastic, but on this one, because it's Karatomi and because it has the clicks and all that, it has the rubber. And the rubber actually does really, really well here. Since this thing, in conjunction with the layer, can do a lot of damage. This thing is definitely a disc that you definitely want to use in battle, because it not only has the metal for weight, the plastic, which aids in attacking, and on top of that, the rubber, which just demolishes bays. It's absolutely insane. So you have the Zenith Disc there. And then lastly, we have the driver, which is evolution. Now, evolution is, as the name would suggest, an evolution on Victory Valkyrie's variable driver. As you guys can see, they look very, very similar. Kind of the same kind of spiky design, and it has the rubber spikes on it as well. But on top of it, it has a rubber column as well. Now, just like a variable, if you wear down the spikes, which mine does have the spikes worn down in the middle here, basically it allows it to spin faster. And, well, not spin faster, but allows it to move faster, because the more this rubber gets worn down, the flatter it gets, and the more aggressive it becomes. So, very, very cool gimmick there on Chosey Valkyrie. So, there you have them. And as you guys can hear, the clicks on it are very, very tight, which is really, really good considering how large these attack points are. And this thing is about as powerful as you would think it is. Very. So there you have Chosey Valkyrie. Very, very cool one. Now, lastly, well, not lastly, at least for this collection, the only one I have up to, this is the only Beyblade I have of the Valkyrie line as of late, is this guy. I don't know if you guys remember him, but this is Slash Valkyrie. So this was his evolution from Chosey to GT. So you guys can see the difference there between Chosey Valkyrie and Slash Valkyrie. So you guys can see the difference there. Now, the only one I'm actually missing from my collection is Brave Valkyrie from the brand new Super King system. But obviously, due to COVID, I can't exactly get my hands on those bays yet. But when I do, definitely expect to see a review, because those bays are awesome. But anyway, back to Slash Valkyrie here. Slash Valkyrie is very, very beautiful, as you guys can see. Now, one design I do not like about this Beyblade at all is the fact the eyes changed from yellow to green. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but the eyes changed to green on Valkyrie's helmet. I do not like that at all. Why would they change it from yellow to green? I do not understand that at all. That is just really, really weird. But, again, you don't really notice it when you're looking at it head-on for the first time. But once you look really up close, you'll definitely see those green eyes peering through the visor of the helmet there. So, very, very cool. And just like the previous Valkyries before it, it does have the large contact points, as you guys can see, right there, and there. Has the same little gold plumage on it, or in this case, you know, the little feather plumage. In this case, it's gold now. And it still has that same kind of feature on the top, like Chosey Valkyrie had. So very, very cool on there. So there you have it. And also it has the new layer weight, which is part of the whole new system. That being, what is it called again? Oh, God. What is it? Retsu. Yeah, Retsu. That's the new disc there. So very, very cool. And then next here we have the disc, which is Blitz. Now, I love this disc. Not only because, again, it has metal and plastic, which makes it not only powerful, but also heavy. But the gimmick is just simple, but it works. So how I like to describe this is basically it takes the gimmick from a driver called Claw, which basically has a feature where it has these free spinning plastic pieces that actually move when you spin the Beyblade. This one does a similar thing, where these little claws here come out from the sides when it's launched, which gives some extra attack points and some extra boosted power to Valkyrie. So very, very cool. As you guys can see, little claws will move there. So this is what it looks like when it's not launched, and when it's launched, the little spikes will fly out. Which, again, on the Hasbro version, when I do get my hands on it, Sword Valtriac, it does not have this feature at all. Which, again, is quite a shame. So, again, excuse my dogs in the background. But lastly, we have the driver here. The driver for this particular Valkyrie is called Power. Now, Power is a very unique driver as it has this little spring-loaded coil on the inside. I don't know if you guys can see, but there is a spring-loaded coil on the inside of the driver. There you go. You can kind of see it right there. It's a little spring-loaded coil that moves. And basically, the whole gimmick behind Power is that the spring works in conjunction with the locking plate on the top of the driver. Now, basically, what happens is that when you launch it and it pushes down on the stadium, basically this plate will be forced upwards, basically increasing the lock between the chip and the driver, basically making Slash Valkyrie essentially kind of a tank, because he can tank a lot more hits because of that. So very, very cool. And again, this one's very dirty. Gotta clean my Beyblades, man, because this guy's getting dirty. But anyway, so that is Slash Valkyrie, and that is the last of the Valkyries. Now, moving on to another Beyblade lineage here, which is the rival Beyblade of the series, which is kind of now being phased out as a secondary character now. But anyway, that's besides the point. So moving on to Spriggan, or as Hasbro calls it, Spryzen. So here is Spriggan here. This is the Hasbro version, aka Spryzen. Very, very cool, and I love how this complements Valkyrie very nicely, as the blue and the yellow really complements the gold, blue, and red. I really like how this looks. And I should have mentioned this before, but Valkyrie is classed as an attack type through all of its evolutions, and Spriggan, throughout all its evolutions, is classed as a balance type. So there you go. And again, it is red to enforce this idea of it being a balance type. So again, because the slopes on this one are really bad, I had to basically glue it together. But we'll show you the parts anyway, with what I can actually show you here. So here we have the layer Spriggan. And then you have the disc here, which is spread. Now, spread for the burst system was really good because it helped with weight distribution, and it also helped with basically helping Beyblades like Spriggan here have really nice balance in the stadium. Now, lastly, we have the driver, which is Fusion. Now, Fusion actually had a little nub on the top that would function both as a stamina tip and as an attack tip, because it would, normally when you first launch it, it will be sitting on a little nub here, which again has been worn off due to battles. But anyway, it would sit on a nub, and it would basically just kind of spin in place. However, when it got knocked off balance, the driver would kick into its attack mode, basically giving Spriggan a boost of attack, and most likely bursting the opponent in one hit. So, very, very cool feature on Spriggan. And again, this is his first rendition. Now, later in the series, we got its upgrade in the dual layer system in the form of Storm Spriggan. So here he is. Again, excuse my dogs in the background. Storm Spriggan here. And I love the look of Storm Spriggan. Sorry guys, sorry phone call. Anyway, from an unknown number. Anyway, sorry about that interruption. Back to Storm Spriggan here. So Storm Spriggan is really, really nice. As you guys can see, the attack points on this thing are just gorgeous, as you guys can see. Instead of it just being these little square nubs, now they're full-on claws. Like it just slashes the opponent to death, which is really, really cool. And just like the previous Spriggan, it does retain the oval kind of shape to it. And as you guys can see, you can definitely see the beast here, which now let's get into that actually, of what Spriggan actually supposed to be. Now, Spriggan is actually based on a troll or a fairy from Cornish lore. So basically, Spriggans were basically like they're similar to fairies, but they're trolls. So pretty cool. Pretty cool design of this bay. As you guys can see, we also have the kind of gear design too on the back, which looks really cool. So that is the layer Storm Spriggan, really good for balance. Absolutely wonderful looking Beyblade. Still holds up nice to this day. Even though, as you guys will see in the next evolution, Spriggan changes significantly from its prior design. So next we have the Knuckle Disc instead of spread. Now Knuckle features these little nubs on it, which not only help with attacking, but also help with distributing weight. Also has these little holes on here as well to make it so that way it can spin fast and, generate air nicely throughout the entire combo, which helps out a lot. And Knuckle was a pretty okay disc at its launch, but didn't really get popular basically got outclassed by every disc later Spriggan renditions. Which, again, I do not have the complete Spriggan family line, I will say that. I am missing Lord Spriggan, but that guy's kind of expensive right now, so... But I'll show you guys that maybe at the end of the video, if I remember to do it. Hopefully I will. And, oh my god. Hang on, guys, 1 second. I'm gonna have to shut my dogs up because I can't go out the entire video doing this. Alright guys, my apologies again. Back to Storm Spriggan here. So here we have the driver, Storm Spriggan of it. This is the Unite driver here. So pretty cool driver. So basically similar to Fusion on its original model. It has the same gimmick of having like a attack and stamina modes. But now the attack mode is upgraded by this rubber cone that surrounds the inner plastic tip, which basically functions to give it, again, an extra boost of attack when it is knocked off balance. So really, really cool Beyblade here. Definitely do like how they upgraded Storm Spriggan here by not only upgrading the design of it, but also upgrading its features, which is absolutely great. Excuse me. Also, sorry to mention, but Artbricks Productions, welcome to the stream. How you doing? Anyway, back to what I was talking about here. I'll get a little bit off track here. Next, from Storm Spriggan in the God Layer system in 2017, we got Legend Spriggan. Yeah, this guy's awesome. Love Legend Spriggan. This is the first Beyblade ever to have dual rotation. Yes, so Spriggan was the first to introduce the idea of dual rotation. So basically this Beyblade can spin both left and right rotation, which is kind of crazy, and I'm going to show you guys how it works right now, actually. So here you have the layer Storm Spriggan, or not Storm Spriggan, Legend Spriggan. I'm looking at Storm Spriggan in the background. And again, I do apologize for my dogs in the background. I tried to quiet them down, but it doesn't seem to be working, so hopefully they'll shut up in a little bit. So, yeah, so hopefully later in the video, they'll just quiet down, so please do try to enjoy the video with their incessant barking anyways. So, and then you have Storm Spriggan and Legend Spriggan there, so you guys can see how different they are. So now the Spriggans now have two heads on the outer design of the Beyblade, which definitely calls back to the original Spriggan that had two heads on the inside of the layer. So I really like how they reinforce this idea. And finally they quiet down. Anyway, so now this Beyblade has not only that, but also has metal in the middle, which you guys can see with the metal god chip. So very, very, very cool there. Now to show you this whole rotation thing. So let me go grab a tool real quick out of the background. if I can find it. Where is it? There it is. Alright. So we're going to be using this tool here for the video. So basically what happens is you see these little points on the inside. And you can see it says both left at the top, right there, so you guys can see there is an L there and an R there. Now right now it's in right spin mode, but as you take the tool, excuse me, and you push it, let's see, this way, it will now the little tabs are now facing the L's, which means it is now in left spin mode, so it will now spin counterclockwise instead of clockwise. So, as you guys can see, we can rotate around there. Let's see. Hey, man, I just want to let you know that your old friends have changed, and some of them really missed you. I understand that, but I appreciate your concern, but those old friends of mine, there's a reason why I don't talk to them anymore. But I, again, appreciate your concern, as that really does, you know, that shows that you care, and I appreciate that. But there's a reason why I don't talk to these old friends. So, anyway, back to the Beyblade here. Lord Spriggan is just, I love this layer, as not only did it change Spriggan up pretty much for the rest of the series, basically this sort of design is carried over in pretty much every Spriggan design going forward, but also they now feature left and right rotation, and they also feature metal in all the designs, pretty much all of them, so pretty cool. How this Spriggan kind of shaped the rest of the Spriggan line going forward. So next we have the disc, which is the 7 disc. Now you guys can see the 7 disc has these little metal spikes here, that basically are shaped like the number 7. And there's 4 of them that go across the top and the bottom of the 7 disc, with of course a 7 etched into the tabs here. I'm sorry. kind of losing train of thought here because of all the noise that was happening earlier. So please do apologize if I do make some grammatical mistakes once I go through this. As I said, this video is going to be a long one. So probably going to be an hour or so long just going through parts here. So, but of course we have colors, so I'm going to breeze through those. But anyway, so there we have the 7 disc there. Next, we get the new driver here for Legend Spriggan. There we go. I was about to call it Legend Spryzen. Anyway, we have the new driver here, which is called Merge. Now, Merge is really cool, as Merge, again, takes the inspiration from its previous evolution, Storm Spriggan, but now has this rubber star tip, which makes it even more aggressive than before. So really do like this driver. It is really, really cool. Really do like that. And again, it does have the plastic insert as well to add for the stamina mode. So very, very nice there. Not much else to really talk about in this Beyblade other than everything I said before. Spriggan has now changed forever now, since now it's no longer just kind of the lame sort of side character and rival. Now he actually can now stand toe-to-toe against any Beyblade that comes up to fight him. So really, really cool that this Beyblade not only changed the Spriggan line forever, but also shaped all future Spriggan designs going forward. So really, really nice. Now next here we're going to show off, in this case, the Hasbro version of the evolution of Legend Spriggan. Because if it wasn't already crazy enough that Legend Spriggan was pretty overpowered, they decided, you know what, let's just take it one step further and add some rubber and add a driver that changes between 3 different modes. And that Beyblade I'm talking about is Spriggan Requiem, and I love this Beyblade. This thing is absolutely insane. Again, just like Legend Spriggan, it has left and right rotation, metal god chip, but now features a newly changed design. As you guys can see, the axe is no longer in the middle. Now it encompasses the entire layer now. And on top of it, the heads are now much differently shaped compared to Legend, as we can see. The heads are much different. Actually, that's a really good shot there of the 2 heads. But also, they now have rubber on them now. So now when it's in left or right spin, it can either stop the other Beyblade from spinning entirely or steal their spin, which is really, really cool. I really like this upgrade. So there you have Spriggan Requiem layer. Really, really cool. And again, it does have the left or right rotation, which I'm not going to show because it pretty much functions the same as its prior evolution. But next, we got a really OP disc with this Beyblade. This is the Zero Disc. Now, the Zero Disc had a lot of pros with this. One of them being its pretty circular design, which definitely helps in, it helps in defense and also helps in stamina because of its round shape. But also, this was the heaviest disc at the time, which has now been outclassed by its upgrade, 00, but still is just a crazy looking disc, which is still just a crazy looking disc. But this one is really, really awesome for its weight, and to this day, it's still used in combos. Not in any recent Beyblades, but in Chosey, they still use this part, which is really, really cool. Which we're going to see that in a later Beyblade called Emperor Fornius, so definitely expect to see this disc come up again. Then next, we're going to get the driver here, which is Zeta. Now, Zeta has a really cool function of having a triple changing driver gimmick, which I'm about to show right now. So as you guys can see, it is now in its stamina mode right now. But as we pull the tip up, we can swap between 3 different modes. We have that. Attack, which you guys can see, has this flat kind of offset kind of tip, and then we have the balance mode, which basically functions the same way as the fusion driver back on just the burst system Spriggan, aka just Spriggan. So really, really cool Beyblade there. That can swap between 3 different parts, has left and right rotation, has the rubber. This was, at the time, one of the most powerful Beyblades in 2017. So powerful. This thing was just dominated the competition for the longest time. That is, until the Chosey layer system, when we got its upgrade. Oh boy, get ready, ladies and gentlemen, because this upgrade is just so awesome. This is Chosey Spriggan. Look at the size of this thing. This thing just went from a tiny little circle to just a big, giant, beefy, armored tank of death. This thing just got a massive upgrade. Now again, this is the Hasbro edition, which is Chosey or Turbo Spryzen is what they call it. But I'm going to call it by the Japanese name for the rest of this video because it's just easier to say. So, really, really cool there. Also to avoid confusion. So, Chosey Spriggan here is really awesome because, on the Japanese anyway, the chip was metal. It also has the burst stoppers on it, which now it actually has 4 pairs of them. 2 pairs of burst stoppers. One for right and one for left rotation. It is really, really awesome. So I'm actually going to show you this right now because it's actually not too hard to get them out. So you guys can see there are little plastic tabs here which will come out for the rotation here, for each rotation. So for right spin, we have this mode here. This is the Chosey wings of this mode, which again, don't really do much, but they actually really improve the Beyblade immensely there. So really, really nice feature. And then in left spin, which I can actually show you it in right spin here, there are other pairs of tabs on the sides that will come out, which are actually a little bit harder to get out. But I can do it. Yep, there we go. Ah, shoot. Okay. I was burst of the Beyblade there, but it just makes this easier, I guess, to get the pieces out. But there you go. There you have the left spin wings there. Which again, both of them function the same way. You launch them hard, these pieces will come out, and basically make it impossible to burst in both rotations. So really cool feature. So there we have the layer of Josie Spriggan. Really awesome layer. And again, if I haven't stated already, it does have dual rotation, just like every other Spriggan up to it. Now next we get the Zero Disc again, but also we get a new frame. This is the wall frame. Now, the wall frame actually has several problems. First of all, the wall frame grinds on the stadium too much. This thing has a lot of friction problems. This thing scrapes like nothing else. I mean, you are going to hear a lot of scrapage when you use this Beyblade because of this wall frame. Now, the whole point of the wall frame is to actually protect the bottom of the Beyblade just in case it gets attacks towards the driver or the disc. Basically, it's supposed to add an extra layer of protection, which, let's be honest, it doesn't work out that well. Can you see a theme here? Nice ideas, kind of poor execution. But still, nonetheless, I'm glad that we got it's good that we got a new frame with this Beyblade and not just a disc, which is great. And next, again, for Hasbro anyway, we get Zeta Slingshot, which on the Takara version, we would get Zeta Dash. Which, I'm not going to go too much into this because it basically does the same thing as Zeta. Triple changing driver, basically. And on the Japanese, it had a red cap on the top. And it also had a golden spring on the inside, which would basically make it more difficult to burst because it basically made the lock tighter. So that was the entire gimmick of that. So there you have it. Chosey Spriggan. Overall, really nice addition to the Chosey line. Really glad that we got it. Really, really cool Beyblade. So, there you have that. So now the only one I'm actually missing is Lord Spriggan, which basically does all those things and more. So, which I will, which again, I'll show you guys pictures of that at the end if I remember to do it. If I don't, then I'll do it then I'll actually just review the actual physical product when I get my hands on it. Excuse me. Sorry for the nasty sounds in the background, but anyway, let's move on to the next Beyblade lineage here. So from Spriggan, we got a defense type as well, since obviously attack balance, we need a defense type. And our defense type we got, first of all, which we got many defense types later, obviously, is Kirbyus. So this is the first Kirbyus. Now, Kirbyus is obviously based on the Cerberus, basically the three-headed guard dog that protected the gates to hell, basically, in Greek mythology. So as we can see the three-headed dog here with one head there, one head up here, and one head there. As you guys may or may not see. Hang on, let me see if I can get the camera to focus. There we go. See, one dog head there, and one there. And then also we have the chain going around encompassing the entire layer, along with a chain that's keeping all three dogs in check here. So really, really cool. I really like this design of Kirbyus. It's very simple, but it tells so much from such a small little design. So there you have Kirbyus. Really cool layer. Next we get the central disc. The central disc is useful because of its round shape, and because it also has this little divot here, which creates some little off-balanceness to it, basically giving Kirbyus a little bit of offense, along with its obviously really top-tier defense. Because of those small little spikes, it's very difficult to burst it, unless you go head-on and just charge into it, in which case, yeah, that's going to do a lot of damage to Kirbyus. But still, the central disc does help it out. Then lastly, we get the driver, which kind of makes sense for what type it is. It is called Defense. Pretty self-explanatory. So on the top here, we do have a shield crest on the top of the little cap here. As you guys can see, little shield there. So I can get it. There we go. There's a little shield there you guys can see. There we go. Perfect. There's your shield. So basically, the whole point of Defense is... Sorry, allergies. So excuse my nasty sounds. Basically, there's a ball tip on here, right? And then you got this little ring, which this ring is again supposed to help it with defending against attacks from below, whilst also aiding as a kind of recovery function. When it's knocked over, these little nubs can kind of help knock it back up to a stable position, helping to again improve its defense. So really, really cool Beyblade. Do like Kirbyus. Definitely for the first model, it's not too bad. I really do like Kirbyus. So that is the first one. Next, after that, we got the dual layer system, obviously, when we got its version, a new version of Kirbyus. That being Kaiser Kerbius. So this is Kaiser Kerbius. And in comparison with the original Kirbyus, we can see there are some definite changes. First of all, being the chain here. So as you guys can see, the chain is significantly different now. The chain is a lot more detailed. As you can see, the chains actually look like proper chain links now, compared to the other version where you could barely even see them. And also we have the 3 dog heads again, but now we have flames circling around them it almost looks as if the dog heads are spitting out little wisps of flame, which looks really, really cool. Aids in what Kirbyus does the Cerberus does in mythology, which it breathes fire. So really cool that they added that addition. And obviously we have this new insignia in the middle for Kirbyus, which kind of looks like a K surrounded by flames. Or actually, no, a K made out of fire, which looks really cool. So that is Kirbyus there. Really cool design. Next here we have the disc. This is limited. Now limited is good because it has these little divots in there, which helps to defend against attacks from below and also helps to stabilize the Beyblade in all of its different points. So really useful disc there for limited. Then lastly we get a new driver, obviously being the press driver. The press driver works pretty much the same as defense. You have a little ball tip and you have some little spikes that protect against attacks from below, and it can help restabilize the Beyblade when it's spinning. So really do like the press driver, and as you can see there is a little stylized P in there for press. As you guys can see, there's a little P there for press. So really do like that. And to answer your question Art Bricks Productions, I will not be refriending Alf for various reasons, but again, I do appreciate your concern, but me and Alf are no longer on speaking terms, but I do appreciate your concern anyways. So next from the dual layer system, we got the God layer upgrade, that being Guardian Kerbius. Now, Guardian Kerbius actually is the first Beyblade to change types between evolutions, since Kirbyus is no longer a defense type. It's now a stamina type. Yeah, I know, weird, but it changes type. It's now a stamina type instead of its defense typing. And as you can see, the design has changed significantly. First of all, because this is the Japanese and not the Hasbro edition, which I do have, which we will look at later as we go along the video. So there you have Kirbyus there. So really, really cool. Guardian Kerbius. Now the whole gimmick behind this Beyblade is these little rubber inserts, which as you may or may not see, they do move a bit. And the whole gimmick behind this is that these rubber points are supposed to cushion attacks from the sides. Basically acting similar to God Valkyrie's bound attack, except with little bits of rubber. Now because they are so small and minuscule, and because they don't really poke out much from the polycarbonate, it basically does very little. So, yeah. Kind of pointless if I'm going to be honest. But still, do like Guardian Kerbius nonetheless. As again, we do have the 3 dog heads as well. We got the fire, and we also got this little green flame down here too. And this nice little interesting kind of green energy design going through Kirbyus as well. And in the light, it does look really, really nice. So do like the look of Guardian Kerbius. Oh, and also something else to note about Guardian Kerbius is that the chain also looks like it's breaking. There's like little fragments of the chain breaking off, as if this dog head is trying to bite free of its restraints, which looks really cool. I actually like that the Kirbyus or the Cerberus is getting so powerful now, it's breaking out of its bonds. It's breaking free of the chains that restrain it from unleashing its full strength, which is really, really cool. I do like that design and that little bit of detail there. That Kirbyus is getting stronger, and it shows it even in the layer. Now next we get the heavy disc. Now the heavy disc in this one is, interestingly enough, from the dual layer system. Not even dual layer system, it's from the burst system, so it's like way back in Gen 1. Like, or Season 1, like already. Jeez. So even in Season 2 they were still using Season 1 parts. But still, has this nice bronze though. So, really, really cool. Do like this disc. So there we go. And then lastly, we have the driver here, which is oddly enough Revolve. And this comes from another Beyblade that we're going to look at next, which is the Ragnarok line. And in this case, it comes from Rising Ragnarok. So very interesting. And got this nice orange color, and it has this free spinning plate. The whole gimmick behind this is that the free spinning plate's supposed to help it, so when it's knocked over, the disc can help recover some spin and help it get back to a level position. And as you can see, it does have the R there for Revolve, so very, very cool. Do like this Beyblade, Guardian Kirbyus. My only issue with this is that the teeth on the Takara version are weak, like really weak. This thing does not take very much to burst. So, kind of a shame. But the Hasbro version that we're going to look at later definitely improves upon this immensely. Because it does change the parts up, but the slopes on that particular version are really, really tight, which is really good for this Beyblade. Although, one problem I do have with it is you guys will see the gimmick is stripped off of the Hasbro version. But that's besides the point. Moving on to the last Kirbyus that we've gotten so far. So in the Chosey layer system, we also got Kirbyus there too. In this case, we got Hazard Kerbius. So this is the last Kirbyus as of now. This is it. Hazard Kerbius. Now, as you can see, unlike Guardian Kirbyus, where the dogs were breaking free of their chains and they're getting strong and they've had enough of being restrained by their chains, now Kirbyus is completely free of its chains. Now, as you guys can see, now it's completely ferocious looking. You can see the head snarling with their teeth bared right there. Looks really intimidating. And then you got these little chains as well, like little like collars, spiky collars on them now. So now the Kirbyus or Cerberus is entirely free of its chains and is now completely free to unleash its full strength upon whoever decides to come into contact with it. So really cool design. Really like the story that they tell with Kirbyus. Really do like it. So this is, again, Hazard Kerbius from Chosey. And as you can see, the chains are now made of real metal here. And the whole gimmick behind the chains is it has what's called this little cushion gimmick. So basically, there are little springs on the inside of these parts of the dog heads, which basically allow the chains to move. As you can see, they have a little bit of cushion to them. Now, as subtle as it is, it actually does a lot for the Beyblade, as it helps to cushion and helps to drive the spikes into the opposing Beyblade to do some damage. So really cool. Oh, and also got these spikes in the top too. So just in case these spikes aren't enough, it has these little spikes up here too that when pushed in, they'll stab into the opponent as well, which is really, really cool. So there we have Hazard Kerbius. And again, I'm in this nice green color too. Nice teeth on this one too. So really good Beyblade. And as you can see from the inside, we can also see how the chains work. There's a little bit of plastic and a little bit of sprayage there that makes the whole gimmick work. I don't know if you guys can see, but there you go. See, that's how it works. So next we get the disc, which again, not going to go too much into this one. It's just the 7 disc, but green. Nice to see some old parts returning. Nice to see. Then lastly, we get the Atomic Driver in this nice red color. Now, Atomic was first introduced in the God series with Tornado Wyvern, who we're going to look at later, and was one of the secondary defense types that was introduced in the same system. But we'll look at that again later as we go up in the collection here. But there we have the Atomic Driver. As you can see, it does have this free spinning disc on it that can move around, and also a free spinning ball, which, again, functions the same thing as Revolve and does the same thing as, what's the other one that we were looking at? Merge. Yeah, basically does the same thing, except now with a ring and a ball. So, very, very cool. Do like the look of this Beyblade. Hazard Kerbius, nice Beyblade, glad to have it. Alright, so that was the Kirbyus line. Now we're moving in to the Ragnarok line. Starting off with the first Beyblade of its line, Ragnarok. Simply called. Just Ragnarok. Nothing special. Just Ragnarok. Now, Ragnarok is based on, obviously, the event Ragnarok, which basically was a series of events in Greek mythology that basically represented the end of the world. And Ragnarok here actually is based on, instead of that, it's based on a demon. So kind of interesting design. As you guys can see, we can see the demon there with this long, spiky, jagged horn spiking out of its head and these fierce eyes and jagged teeth. I don't know if you guys can see that because the camera is refusing to actually pick it up. Can we get a good shot of it? There we go. You can kind of see the little jagged teeth there. Oh, perfect. There we go. You guys can see there's a little jagged teeth there, and there's the eye of the Ragnarok. There we go. That's a really good shot. There you go. So you can really see the teeth in the eye there on both heads. So pretty simple design on Ragnarok. Not really much else to talk about here, except that the slopes are really good, and it's really good for stamina. Which basically the whole point of stamina is to spin for an extra long time. That's the whole gimmick of stamina, is to spin for extra long periods of time. So next we get the heavy disc, as we just talked about in Guardian Kirbyus. We got the heavy driver here. This is a disc. This is the first time we see this disc, and it works really well. It has these little weighted nubs on them that help to spin the Beyblade well and help to balance out the points on the demon heads. So it works out well. Nice disc there. Then lastly we get the, what is the driver here? This is Survive, that's what it is. Survive Driver. Survive basically functions as you would think. Basically it's supposed to help keep it spinning by having a small point on the bottom of the tip, which is worn down because of use, but still. That's the whole point of Survive. It's basically use a small point, keep it stabilized, keep it spinning for extra long periods of time. So that's the whole point of that driver, and that is the first rendition of Ragnarok. Now, later in the dual layer system, we get its evolution. That being Rising Ragnarok, which is really, really cool. So, Rising Ragnarok here, unlike the previous Ragnarok, the demon heads have now become bigger and angrier, as you guys can see. The really raging snarl in the demon heads. The horn has gotten bigger, and now the horn's even spread out so far to the back of the head. It's gotten so big now. It's really, really cool looking. And now we got these little, what look like kind of horny protrusions as well, or like, horn-like protrusions on here as well. That's the word I'm looking for. Why did I say that? Oh, God, that sounded weird. Anyway, I meant to say horn-like, so my apologies. Horn-like protrusions there, too. So, my apologies. Oh, God. Yep, someone's gonna make a meme out of that. Oh, boy. Anyway, so there is Rising Ragnarok there, the layer. Very, very cool. Do like this Beyblade part. And next we get a new disc with it called the Gravity Disc. Not much to really say here except that it has nice detail on it and basically helps with weight distribution. So nice to say. Not much to say about Gravity, but nice looking discs nonetheless. Then we get Revolve, which again, same thing as on Guardian Kerbius. This is its first time we get to see it. And does exactly the same thing because it's the exact same driver. As you can see, it also does have the R there for Revolve, which you guys can see right there. There we go. So there you have Rising Ragnarok. Really cool Beyblade. Next in the God Layer system, we got a significant change to the Ragnarok design. That being Blaze Ragnarok. Yeah, check out this guy. Very fearsome looking. Now, compared to the original Ragnarok here, Rising Ragnarok, its prior evolution from dual layer system, this one now features a much rounder design. And the demon heads are a lot more passive this time around, with not looking too angry now. They're actually looking pretty calm at this point. So, do like that. And the gimmick behind this one, for the whole god gimmick, is it has these little stamina wings, is what they're called, to basically extend out when it's spinning, and basically are supposed to help increase its stamina. And let's be honest, they don't do anything. Nice idea, poor execution. Don't do very much here. But again, because the slopes are so bad on this one, I did super glue this one as well. But I'll definitely try to show you the parts anyway. So the disc here we have is the 4 disc, which I'll show you that in a later Beyblade that has the same disc, so you can actually see the better detail on it. And we do get the cross frame here in this nice blue color. And lastly, we get the new driver, Flugel. Now, Flugel has these little wings on it. They're supposed to help generate air under the Beyblade, basically helping to channel air and to help it spin for long periods of time. So that's the whole point of that. So that is Blaze Ragnarok. So not much to say with this Beyblade. Nice to see another version of Ragnarok. Very cool Beyblade. Now, lastly, not lastly, but the last evolution that I got so far, the only one I'm missing right now is Glide Ragnarok. That's the one I'm missing. The newest one from Super King. Oh, shoot, drop the camera. Sorry, guys, hang on, let me just fix the camera again. There we go. There we have this version. This is Crash Ragnarok. Now, as you guys can see, significant change here. We now have the stamina wings are now bigger now, and on the Japanese, because this is Hasbro, these would be metal wings. And the heads here also would be metal, but in this case, they are not. So that is the whole feature behind that, and again, just like all Chosey bays, it can use the level chip as well. So very, very cool, and it spins right just like every other version. Still stamina type. So that is Crash Ragnarok there. Not much to say, but very cool Beyblade nonetheless. And I do like the little Japanese kind of insignia going on here. Do like that. Definitely adds a nice accent to the orange. Then next we get the disc here, which is the 11 disc. The 11 disc is brand new. Not much to say, except it does work in conjunction with frames. It does have this little bit of weight here too. Not really much else to say about 11. The nice disc. Works nice with frames. There you go. Nice detail. Then next we get the, what is this driver called again? Oh, God. Why can't I remember the name of this driver? So, it's Wedge. That's what it's called. The Wedge Driver. Sorry about that, guys. Had a brain fart. So, Wedge, now surprisingly for Hasbro, is actually metal. Like, wow, good job, Hasbro, actually putting metal on this, which actually makes this Beyblade quite good because of that little bit of metal. It actually adds some nice heft. Now, because of Sling Shock, it does have the mode change, where you can change the tip between a stamina mode and an attack mode, which works as you would think. Stamina mode has this little plastic insert that keeps it stable. Attack mode takes away that insert and now makes it a flat base, basically making it faster and more aggressive. And because it's metal, it never wears out, which is great. So there you have Crash Ragnarok. Not much to say about this Beyblade, except it's nice we got a new version. Now, again, in Super King, we did get an evolution to many's surprise, because we didn't see him in GT at all. So I'm glad that we got him in Super King in the form of Glide Ragnarok, which I will show you guys once I actually get me the Beyblade in hand. So very, very cool. Now, this Beyblade at the bottom here, which you guys can't see because it's off camera. Actually, I'm going to show you. That Beyblade down there, I'm actually going to save that until later when we get into some other Beyblades. But moving on, actually, I might have to cut this into 2 videos, actually, because we're getting into some decent time here. Let's do a couple last minute Beyblades, and then later on today I'll be recording part 2. So, next up here on our little adventure Beyblading here is this Beyblade that was released in the, again, Burst system. This is Evil Eye. So Evil Eye is basically a snake thing. Because that's this whole beast thing, is that it's supposed to be a snake, but also it has this sort of eye kind of theme going on. It is a defense type, and it does have this little eye here, which this part's supposed to represent the pupil, and this is supposed to represent the cornea. Makes sense. And then at the top here, you can see the snake head, and this is supposed to be its snake body curling around into these, and it also has these little spike-like, I don't know if they're rattles or they're supposed to be tails. No clue. But really interesting design nonetheless. So that is Evil Eye. Very interesting Beyblade. Now here we can actually see the wing disc in more detail. Same thing, does the same thing as the wing that we saw on Valkyrie, but it's just a reissue here. It's nice to see a nice return of the wing disc. Then lastly we get a new driver in the form of Needle. Now Needle has these little spikes on it, as you guys can see. And also has these little spikes on the ball as well, which is kind of dirty. Hang on. There we go. So you guys can see the little spikes there. And the whole gimmick of that is that the spikes are supposed to keep it pinned to the center of the stadium. And basically it's supposed to be hard to knock out of the center, which in practice does actually work well. So I'll give Takara Tomy that. And in the Japanese, it was released in a random booster, but here in Hasbro, we got it as a starter. It's really nice to see Evil Eye. Very cool looking Beyblade. Very unique defense type. Now, last one for this part of the Ultimate review, we're going to review its evolution. Exceed Evil Eye. Now, Exceed Evil Eye is again based on a snake, but this time you can much more clearly see the snake in its design. Unlike its first rendition up here, actually I have it rotated wrong. There's Evil Eye from 2015. This one came out in 2016. Which I was surprised for such a niche and kind of out there design to get an evolution. Kind of a shocker. You guys can see we do have the snake design there. We have the E for Exceed Evil Eye, respectively. We got these little parts here, which to me kind of look like, I thought this was supposed to be some kind of like fence, but actually is supposed to be part of the snake scales. I have no idea how this looks like snake scales, but somehow it does. So that is Exceed Evil Eye. Very nice design on this one. Really do like it for such an out there design. And surprisingly, this Beyblade also changes type as well, as I believe this one is now a stamina type instead of a defense type. Kind of weird, but anyway, moving on here. Next we get, again, Return of the Heavy Disc. Nice to see. Not much to talk about here. Same thing as we saw on previous Beyblades. Then next we get the Wedge Driver, which funny enough, the original Japanese version of Exceed Evil Eye does not actually have an official combo because it was kind of released as a tie-in with a pack. So this is kind of a out there kind of combo. There's no real official combo for Evil Eye, so I'm guessing for Hasbro this is its official combo with the Wedge Driver. Now, the Wedge Driver has a lot of issues. One of them being the tiny tip here. And the fact that it's just such a weird design with all these little flat spikes merging into one point. Which, again, if you knock this thing off balance, it's game over. It's done. The Wedge Driver, nice idea, but poor concept. But poor execution, I mean. Oh my god. But still, nonetheless, nice Beyblade. Exceed Evil Eye. Nice to see. Alright guys, so that is going to round out part 1 of this video. If you guys want to see part 2, or you just want me to just leave it at part 1, then please do let me know in the comments section. Make sure if you enjoyed this video that you smash the like button, subscribe and turn notifications on, and I will see you guys, maybe, in a part 2 to this video. If you guys want to see it, of course. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Later, Squad.